Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mile Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And this week we're coming to you with a new-ish segment, Mile Game Guys Expands, where we look at games we've previously reviewed or discussed, and an expansion came out, and we're seeing if the expansion changes our thoughts on them at all.
Ideally, games where at least one of us had a problem with it.
Yes.
Or had some problems with it to see if it fixed said problems. Because if it was like a game that was all of us were like, it's the best, then, just doing an expansion of that would be like, eh.
Yeah. Not that we've ever done anything like that ever.
No.
Taking a game that was like, I don't know, a podcast unanimous best of for a given year, and then covering the expansions and just being like, yeah, it's still really good. We still really like it.
Yeah.
We'd never do that.
No.
But that was like 4 of them at the same time.
It was a lot of expansions.
It
Yeah.
was. Everything up to colonies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did not include colonies in that one, I don't think. Or no, maybe up to and including.
Not sure colonies existed when we did that.
So it was the map, Prelude, and
Yeah.
Venus.
Yeah.
I think that's all it was.
So it was 3 instead of 4. Okay. That's
Yeah.
what's throwing me off. Because it was like, colonies was the 4th, so...
Yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about Terraforming Mars first
Not yet.
mention in this episode.
I like that you said that. Continue. No, it's fine.
Okay.
Continue.
Instead, this week we're covering 2 games that we reviewed a long time ago. Feast for Odin, which was a really long time ago.
It was.
And Euphoria, which was a little over a year long time ago.
Both of those are true.
Yes. We will begin with, so the way we're going to do this, Zach's going to do a little bit of like a last time on and kind of rehash a little bit of what we talked about in the episode, what our problems were, maybe, I don't know, other things. He just took that and ran with it. Then we'll do our initial thoughts. And
There was no prompt on that too. I was just like, I want to do this.
Yeah. And then we'll do it more or less like the reviews, just hopefully shorter because it's just an expansion and not the whole game.
Mhm.
So a little bit about like our initial thoughts about the expansion, the components that are in the expansion box, and then how that affects gameplay, and then what we think of it. And that'll be the format. And we're going to start it off with Feast for Odin because it was the one we did the furthest back. So, Zach, without any further ado, take it away.
All right. Last time on A Feast for Odin, which was episode 24. That was on December 14th, 2016.
God damn.
So there were echoes abound because it was...
I want to say that was an actual setting on the thing we had that we didn't realize we were doing.
It was very well, we were also in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So it was a bunch of echoey stuff. We learned that Adrian is a hoarder. Everyone agreed that Faroe Island was bullshit. Zach double dog dared Adrian. And it might be the first episode setting up the Terraform Mars first mention.
Wow.
That's what I was like. Because I heard us talking about, we should do some sort of thing anytime someone says Terraforming Mars.
Okay.
Adrian thinks that it was best and tightest at solo, but somewhat lacking with more players, but did overall enjoy it. Jeff thought it was super good with a bunch of different strategies. And Zach thought it was fine, but too open and too much going on at once. Overall, our biggest problems were the amount of worker placement spaces and the occupation cards, and that some are good, some are bad, and if you got them at the wrong time, too bad.
Yeah.
So the expansion changes the following for Feast of Odin. You have a modular board, a new way to use occupation cards, new animals and goods, and it replaced and added new islands.
Right on. So let's do some initial thoughts then for the expansion. So, Jeff, starting with you, you super liked Feast for Odin at the end of the review, as Zach just mentioned. Did you play it at all between the review and now? And then what were your initial thoughts going into the expansion?
No, I did not. I did not even build the insert that I had purchased for it until I had gotten the Norwegians expansion from you.
Yes.
And then I built it. I also had gotten the Conclave insert at the same time, so I just built them back to back. I was like, well, I'm doing it. Might as well do it. From everything I'd seen about the Norwegians, it seemed like it was actually doing quite a bit of replacement on stuff, and I wanted to really try that out.
Cool. What about you, Zach? You weren't as big of a fan of it. I'm assuming if Jeff didn't play it, you didn't play it at all.
No, I was definitely on the thing of if there's an expansion that fixes my problems with it, I'll try it, but otherwise I'm okay. And hearing about the expansion and how it might fix some of my problems with it, I was like, I'll try it. So I was looking forward to trying it because there were a lot of things I did like in the game, but it felt like I felt that an expansion could fix some of my problems, and so that's why I was like, yeah, I'll definitely, like, when we were looking to do something, I was like, hey, we could do the expansion, and that means we could try out Norwegians because Jeff got it. So
yeah.
All right. And for me, I think I might have played like once shortly after the review because we reviewed basically my copy. I don't think we even used yours, Jeff.
I don't remember.
Yeah. But I know mine's been like punched and sorted and everything. So I think I played it a little bit right after. Well, I don't know.
Well, we had only used the A cards in yours, Jeff. I know that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it had definitely kind of fallen off, and I hadn't played it in years, certainly. And I know I was really excited. One of my biggest complaints, like I said, is that I liked it solo because it felt tight. But when you played with people, it didn't feel tight, and I don't play a lot of solo games. So hearing that this one shrunk down the board and took away some of the spaces, I was really excited because I thought that I might actually make for more of what I like typically in the older UVA worker place. UVA worker.
I'm sure one is correct.
I'm pretty sure it's not Uwe.
No?
No, that's a very common American
No,
mispronunciation.
yes, ooh-wee.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, threw me off there. The smaller board I thought might be getting back to that older design philosophy of his that was a little bit tighter in the action selection worker placement portion of the game. So I was excited. For expansion components,
There's a lot, just like Feast for Odin.
yes.
Yes.
Especially because it just takes a lot of things from Feast for Odin and is like, you don't need that anymore. Just go ahead and get rid of it.
So there's 8 new island tiles.
Which four of them
just replace 4 from the base game. There's 3 new action boards, which replace the one giant one from the base game.
Which
and
are
they're double-sided
double-sided
for player count, so they actually change the amount of spaces that you have depending on the player count.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of new resources, herbs, pigs, horses.
It basically adds like 2 different types of like
rows of stuff.
It's like one's like a 2x5 and the other one is a like a U
like a
sort of thing.
3x2 U.
Yeah.
Yes.
It also had like those victory point things for occupation cards.
Yeah, you can discard occupation cards, get a victory point. It comes with a new boat board.
Yeah,
because it adds a new action to
immigrate with the whaling boats, basically
for like a half space, basically.
Yeah. It adds
a new score sheet.
That wasn't it, but
was it the mountain thing?
The new mountain strip. That's for some reason one space longer than all of the base game ones. It's like they forgot what the base game ones were like when they designed it, and then they were like, "Oh shit."
And you just shuffle them in with all the other ones. Like, I wonder which one's coming up next. That one just has an like 2 or
at the very
spot
end,
at the very end beyond everything.
Yeah. No occupation cards or anything like that.
Nope.
Already plenty of occupation cards in the base game.
Exactly. And no new player boards or anything.
Nope. Oh, it did add in a new
a sideboard
for like the pillaging loot pieces.
Yeah.
Because they've rebalanced that to some that you can craft versus some that you can loot with a special space, like below 9 or craft below 9 or something like that.
And then for the other loot one, they're just like, just turn it over. Don't worry about anything that's on it anymore.
Yeah. They don't conveniently have like nice little spaces, but I did see someone made a file where you can just print out a new like actual spaced out version.
Oh, okay.
So they all have their own spot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It also added the little house things, but one particular for you that was like unique to you.
Oh the unique shed
thing.
Oh yeah, it's double-sided shed thing that gives you unique stuff to start with.
You don't start with it built though.
No, you don't start with it built, but you get one of them dealt to you that you can build throughout the game.
Yeah.
So, but I think that mostly covers it. And anything we missed, I think we'll end up talking about probably during game.
I mean, basically, I just said all the components are of similar quality to Feast, so it doesn't nothing feels out of place.
They look,
except for the one mountain strip that is longer.
Yes.
That's the only thing that you're like.
Everything else fits great.
Yeah, everything else is fine.
And some rule books for, new stuff. And the appendix for, because there's new like livestock and stuff like that. So there's an appendix to tell you which cards actually can do new stuff with
Yep.
the new stuff. That don't say it on the card because it's no new cards.
No.
Indeed.
Plenty of old cards.
Yeah. So moving on over to some gameplay then. It, I think, does change up the gameplay a decent amount.
It seems like a totally different game.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go quite that far. But
It feels like a very refined version of it.
For action selection, it feels like a completely different game. I actually gave a fuck about where other people were.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That's the biggest thing it does.
Yeah.
I listened to the entire review of this to get that stuff, but also just to get people's opinions. And apparently, because you know how like you have an idea of how you feel about something in your head, but as you go through the years, it sort of crystallizes into something more that you're just like, yeah, no, it's always been no. So, Jeff, you were mostly fine with 4-player with the action spaces on 4-player.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Mostly because I didn't care where anyone went because there were so many of them.
Well, no, we were talking about how we were talking about how it felt a lot tighter at 4 players.
Yeah, that would be the most tight, I
Yes.
guess, except the solo version.
Yeah.
Yes. And the solo versions only feels really tight because you leave a set of workers on the board in the original one
Yes.
that
So
are
you
there in the way of all of the good spots that you want to take.
So you have to wait a turn until you can do those spots again.
Yeah.
Which is all it really was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so the real way it changes that is like the core gameplay is the same. You're placing Vikings in different columns of varying amounts of Vikings.
It did add a column too, but we can get to that later.
Yeah, so it smushed a lot of the columns. Like we were comparing the boards side by side, and like there were areas where things that used to be two separate actions are now just one action. So it seems like a lot of the actions got ramped up, which helps like kind of get the game going a little bit. And then they tweaked a bunch of the other ones to work in the new things. They added the new, like the pigs and the horses and all of the new resources they added.
And a lot of those spots are just combined with the old livestock.
Yep. Now it's just
Picking up
get any
options.
animal or
And then they added that far column, which I think this is one of the coolest things that they did.
Yeah.
It is a 1 or 2 Viking column at the very end, but once you go there, your turn is over, and they're actually like they're 3 or 4 Viking spots that are otherwhere on the board. Like some of them are like oh, this exact spot is here, but it's a 3 Vikings.
Yeah.
They're better than
The
the
1 or 2.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
Maybe equivalent with the 2.
2.5, we'll say.
Yeah.
Like one of them is straight up the exact same action that a 3 Viking action is.
Yeah.
So they're like right in that area.
Yeah. But you can do it with just 1 if you
And
need
some
to.
of them just don't exist on the board earlier
Some of them,
at
yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But they end your turn. But what they're nice for is like sometimes you'd get down when you're playing in base game where you make your big move with like 4 Vikings. It's like, I got these 2 Vikings I'm not really doing anything with. I guess I'll take some piddly action on the front. They give you a good like wrapping up your turn action.
Yeah.
That can actually still be really powerful.
And they're the same if it's 1 or 2, but if you play 2, you also get to play an occupation card out of your hand.
Which means that lets you play it with less Vikings than having to go to 4 to play.
Yeah, normally
an
you have to have
occupation.
4.
Yeah.
And since several of them are repeats of spaces that are already on the board, like it kind of makes up for they got rid of the thing you used to put at the base that like there was a duplicate a spot in this column tile. That's gone now. And this kind of fills that niche that purpose, but does it even better, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I didn't really notice any major gameplay differences with the new islands. The new ones are just different.
Yeah.
But the revised ones, I didn't really compare them side by side.
I think
so
it was
didn't see
just
the differences.
graphically like to make them match the style they were going with the like how they had like negative points on there and some other stuff like that. I didn't see if there are any actually spot changes.
And there may have been just to incorporate the new resources on some of those. I'm not sure. The new starting shed that you get as an option to build whenever you build a shed is kind of interesting, actually having that option, and like it does something kind of unique to you that can, I think, will be really useful for new players, like to give them some guidance, like, hey, pick one of your 2 sides of your shed that seem interesting and maybe try to work towards getting the stuff you need to fill that.
Well, and it was like, and some of them were like putting cows on there or putting whaling boats on there to give you other things. But some of them seemed a little hit or miss.
Yeah, there were a few where it's like, man,
Yeah.
I don't think I want to spend an 8-point horse to fill up that spot.
Yeah. Some of them are okay.
Mm-hmm. But I like that they have them.
Yeah,
but you don't have to use them if you're like
Yeah,
the
because
one.
you can just tell them to fuck off and not worry about them.
Yeah.
some of them can be useful though.
Yes.
Like the armory one that gets you a sword card and an iron
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and an income.
Yes.
Because a lot of them do have income on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're easy. Like the shed is like, to build a shed, it's like the one Viking, one wood top left corner piece. So like building it doesn't cost really much anything.
Yeah. No, it
all comes
fairly
down
easy.
to those occupation cards.
Yes.
Goddamn occupation
Which I think
cards.
that's another great change they made was the ones where you don't work with whatever strategy you're doing or it would be too late. You can and they don't have any victory points on them or anything. You can, when you have to play an occupation card, you're like, I'm just going to discard it and take one of those victory point tokens that start out at 4 and then they go to 3 and then 2.
Yeah, so the more you get rid of cards, the faster, I guess, the more points they'll actually be worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's only like 2 or 3 4s before it's down to 3s. And then
There's
only
2 4s and then
4s.
it's like 5 3s or something like that.
And then it's all 2 after that.
Yeah.
But yeah. And just remember that exists. So when you have a card that's really shitty, you don't just be like, I guess I'll just play this card and hopefully it'll be useful.
Well-
Because then Zach will wait like a turn and a half and be like, you should have totally gotten 4 points for that. And then he'll go, what the fuck am I doing?
And one thing I found, because those are available, it gives you another interesting decision because there's a spot that's like you can play 3 occupation cards.
And it's like one Viking.
Yeah, or I think it was 2.
It's that's the draw 3.
Yeah.
It's 3 and you get to
that's what it is.
play 1 to 4.
1 to 4, and I had 3 in my hand, and I was like, man, there's 3 tokens left. I could just play this and get 9 points straight out. Because I'd be like, I'm gonna do that spot and then just get rid of all of them, and then because then you're also denying people
Points in the future.
Yeah. So I like that they have those there because you're like, a lot of those occupation cards we'd had were like, this might work, this might not, but you could just be like, I don't feel like going for it. I'm just going to take the points instead.
Yeah, and the majority of what we drew for occupations was just off the like free ones that we got from placing 3 Vikings on any action.
Exactly, yeah.
Because there is a bunch of spots that let you just draw a whole bunch, and that might be a decent strategy if you want to use, because it's only 1 Viking. You discard an occupation and then you draw 3, or you discard an occupation, you get 2 money, or you can draw 3.
Yeah.
Which isn't terrible for a 1 Viking action, but none of us ever really went heavy on that.
Yeah.
And throughout the game, we saw so many occupations. There was like, man, I sure wish I got that earlier. I wonder if you went like a occupation
Start.
just trying to get some more occupations in your hand to try and get some good ones.
Right.
That it might be more useful.
Yeah, because then you could also go to those spots to play the ones you don't care about
Yeah.
to get a lot of points.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Might be an interesting start.
Yeah.
Always with the different options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the new animals they added, the pigs, they breed immediately, and often they're only worth 1 point each, but they're a very steady source of, if nothing else, a 3-long piece of food.
Yeah.
4 long.
No, it's
No,
if you kill them. Where he's talking about like you just eat them versus not killing them.
Oh, yeah. You can just straight up eat them. But there's that piece that you just shave some off.
Yeah.
And you get a 4 long piece of food.
Because usually you can slaughter animals to get food and skinning.
So I did finally find an answer for that. And
Yes, I saw your thread, and it's magic.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's an abstraction.
Yeah.
You have a lot of pigs, and you're butchering one of them,
Yeah.
and that's feeding your people.
Gotcha.
It's somebody. There was somewhere later in that thread, somebody was making a joke about like, things in the game that make it seem like it's not an abstraction. Like these things where like the way it works very specifically, things that make it seem like it is an abstraction. I lay a coat across an entire island. So
yeah, I like the pigs. Like, it's especially with the pigs and the horses that were added, because the horses are 2x5 long, but they are worth by far the most. They are worth twice as much as cows are, because cows are 3 points and then 4 points if you're pregnant, whereas horses are 6 points and 8 points if they're pregnant. It definitely, like, it feels like something that somebody wants. Like, if you're one of the first people, you're like, go get horses, because if you can get those started early, like at the end of the game, I think I had 24 points from horses.
A shit ton of points
and
from horses.
The horse spot where you can just kill a horse, you can slaughter it for food, and you get a 2x5 green, like the pelt, giant pelt. that it was really good for holding up spots. So horses were really nice for that.
Yes.
But I felt like this one, animals were a lot more contested than previously.
They nerfed the livestock market considerably in the new board.
Okay.
Because there was
the getting milk one was pretty...
There was 13 spots for actions in the old board, and now there's 9.
Okay.
Or 8, and then the 2 ones on the end.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's like halved as many spots as you can go.
Yeah. So it always seemed
because like the sheep spot was separate, the cattle spot was separate. Now it's the same spot.
Yeah.
So only one person's doing that.
Yeah, there's like a spot to get one animal. There's a spot to get 2 animals, and then
there's a 1 animal, a 2 animal that's only a sheep or a pig,
that's
or
was,
2 of any animal.
Yes, yeah. And you start with everything you need to get either one of those besides money. So it always feels like a good first turn, if you can do it, is to go to either one of those spots. Or I think, like, for me, on my second turn, I was able to make it to where I went to both of those spots, and I was immediately like, bam, got all this fucking livestock now.
Yeah. It can be really powerful.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to get livestock before, because there was 4 separate spots you could get it from.
Which I think with the new pigs and horses, they had to tone that down.
Oh,
otherwise,
100%.
the game would just become like farming.
The game. Yeah. What is this, Agricola?
I found that thread, so because this is great. So points against tiles in a Feast for Odin being abstractions. It takes 2 animal tiles to breed.
Yep.
Points against tiles in a Feast for Odin being actual objects. Meat can be gotten from a pig tile without losing the pig tile. Tiles are simultaneously large enough to cover substantial swaths of Greenland and also small enough to fit on a feasting table or in a longhouse. Placing a gigantic fur robe spanning many square miles correctly on the area of one's land will earn you money. Placing a series of gigantic objects spanning many square miles around a particular square of land will result in the spontaneous generation of goods such as whale blubber, silverware, or peas. I rest my case.
Yeah, it's a little iffy on some of those things. The pigs are also really nice for if you can upgrade them to help surround things.
Yeah, they become like a wreath or herbs or something.
Yeah.
So you get that as green or blue, then yeah, you can get, 5 of your 8 that you need with just 1 piece, and then it makes it really easy to just put 1 more to cap it off on the end.
Yeah. Something they added to 2 different hunting spots, and one of them you can't use wood for at all, because I remember that was
catching fish,
because that was something like you get a bunch of wood, then you just go fight, go hunt deer.
In the old board, it was just like go to that space, get a fish. That's all it was.
Okay.
Now has a chance to get 2 fish and a barrel for rolling the die and stuff.
Yeah. And then it also added the elk hunt that lets you use any weapon except for swords. And then it'll get you the green 2x3 that we were talking about, and a weapon card too. So.
Yeah, they cut one of the hunting spots, the hunting game spot. There used to be 2, a 1 Viking and a 2 Viking, and then there used to be 2 whale spots that I think only appears on the 4-player board.
Yes,
now.
that is correct. Yeah. When we were looking at the 3 and 4 player, the main difference is it added another whaling spot, but then it cut a lot of the actions that were do this or do this. Because when you were talking about earlier how they're combining stuff, and usually it combined into, all right, you get to do the top thing or the bottom, unless you go like 3 or 4 Vikings in, and then it's like, hey, you get to do both of them.
Yeah.
But then going to 4 players, it added a lot of those back. But I think not having the ability to copy somebody's action still made it a lot tighter.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The Mountain and Trade board section, I think, took the heaviest balancing hit.
Okay.
There used to be a lot of draw weapon cards on there with upgrading stuff. Now there's
one spot.
There's 1 spot. Before it was draw 4 weapon cards.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Now it's get 3 resources from a board and draw 2 weapon cards.
Yeah.
So that one's totally gone. There was one that was get 2 resources from 4 different boards.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Or 3 double upgrade items. Now that's just 3 double upgrade items just on its own.
Yeah.
And then that like 2 of any not same resource, and 1 upgrade is the like little end cap one. So that one got some balancing. Pillaging's the same.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go through exactly what all the different.
I'm trying to figure out what the major differences are, because there is some major changes. Like the occupation ones are different. The emigration ones, there's more options for emigrating and like upgrading or flipping your ships over.
Yeah.
Before there was 4 of them. Now there's really only 2, and then that end turn action.
Yep.
Board's a lot different.
Yep.
And also, I would officially like to call that last board a 2, maybe a 2.5.
Yeah.
Because the one that is the same, it's an iron for a tong that's less than 9. The 3 Viking action is an iron for any tong.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I would call them a less than.
Yeah.
But you can still do it for 1. So,
Exactly.
yeah. At 1, you're getting value.
Yeah, and it's also that no one's going to take it until the end of the round.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
So that, because usually a lot of the good spots are going to be taken, and then you're just sort of like, I guess I'll do this one. Like that's like, well, now I get to do this pretty good one that no one's taken yet because they don't want their turn to end.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the things that they've changed and combined are good changes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, like there was a space for 2 Vikings, 1 wood per player, and an iron. Now it's just 3 wood and an iron.
Right on. Well, I think we're ready to move on to what we think about this one. So we'll start over there with you, Zach, as the Debbie Downer of the group.
Yep.
During last review. Did this do enough to change Feast for Odin in your mind?
I think it made a lot of positive changes. I liked the board a lot better. I really like that it is modular based on the amount of players. I think that's always a great decision to try and keep it tighter.
And we didn't even talk that they have completely removed the 4-player like copy in action.
Yeah,
I mentioned it
Yeah.
a couple times.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think just like honestly removing that is great already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it way tightens things up.
Yeah. So it definitely feels like a much tighter version. It feels sort of just like a revised edition of Feast for Odin. I liked some of those new islands that we got, especially like some that don't have any income on there, but they just have a shitload of points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that if you can afford it, then like that's how when we were playing, I ended up getting 124 points or something like that because I got 39 from one of the islands.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if getting used to this one will make me feel a little bit more down on it. But honestly, for me, getting rid of or being able to throw away occupation cards and making the board a lot tighter fixed a lot of my problems with it. And this, like previously, I felt like you could follow someone, doing the same strategy as them and be mostly successful as long as you did something else too. It's always just like, oh, well, I'll do this other thing that's not as good, but it still works. This one, I feel like that is not a good idea. That you need to figure out a way to do your own thing in the game. Yeah, I have now moved to I enjoy the game.
Right on. As the middling review from the initial one, I like a lot of what they did. I think this might actually keep Feast for Odin in my collection. Like, because I was thinking about that, like when we started talking about this, I was like, why do I even actually have Feast for Odin? Because I hadn't played it in forever, and like there's a lot of other tighter worker placements that I liked. But after playing this, I think I might actually pick up the expansion and keep my copy because it actually felt much more like what I like out of those type of games, while still having a lot of the spatial puzzle that I really liked about. That was one of my favorite things about Feast for Odin. And so now that they've tightened up the game with a smaller board, getting rid of the duplicate spaces, giving you a way to handle those occupation cards that are garbage, they like pretty much I can't think of a single change they made in the expansion that I prefer the original on. Every change they made, I think, was a positive change.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So I'm really happy with it. It did good stuff.
Yes.
So, Jeff, you liked Feast for Odin before. I assume you still like Feast for Odin. How much more do you like it? Like,
hard 180.
Oh, man, everything is worse. There's less spaces for me to just not give a shit about any of the other players in the game now. Now I have to care.
Yeah.
But the game's better, and I already liked it. I'm glad they didn't add any more occupation cards.
Yeah.
Because there's already enough of them, and you don't ever really see enough of them to get tired of them.
Mm-hmm.
I only wish that they're still super specific and swingy. Like, if you get the right occupation card, you can get a really good strategy going where someone else just has a bunch of trash.
Yeah.
Whether the difference is going to be between tossing that trash for those victory points or not is going to make a difference. But some of them are real good, and if you get them at the right time with the right strategy, like, you can take advantage of them pretty good.
Yeah, no, like one of my starting ones was anytime you crafted something, you got mead. So it was like, here's 2 free food you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
And that definitely was really nice.
Yeah. I still like all the island stuff. The way you get the islands changed a little bit, but not that much. It's easier to tell symbol-wise which space you need to go to which island.
Which is, I think, the reason why they mainly replaced them was because they all have now, you can look at an island and you can tell how many workers you need to be able to get that one.
Yeah, that's based, and you have to have the right boat.
Well, yes.
Yeah. You can still go for a bunch of different strategies. Like, I did a ton of pillaging in that last game, and Zach blew everyone else out of the water, but I still was only 19 points behind him in second place.
Yeah, you were 19 points ahead of Adrian and Megan, so yeah.
And I just went like a pillaging thing. Like, most of my board was loot. I didn't really have much resource-wise. I had cows.
Mm-hmm.
I liked all the balance changes they did. It seems like that whole section of like livestock is more interesting now. It's a lot tighter. Like, when you 2 assholes are fighting over livestock all the time, it's like, I gotta go do something else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go raid the English while you fight over pigs.
Yeah. Well, I thought all of what I liked is that it added 2 new livestock that were still both completely different for like things that you wanted from them.
Yeah.
Because the sheep gave you the wool, the cows gave you milk, but like the horse, you can go someplace and get like hay from horses, but you're getting them for like the points. But you're like, that's really what I'm getting them for.
Yeah.
Versus the pigs, where you're like, they aren't worth much, but they give you a lot of food, and you can slaughter them to get a lot of good stuff.
Yes.
So
the game is no less a table hog in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
If anything, it added a whole new tray of resources that you have to put on the board. We did combine them with some stuff on the side still.
Which I forgot, some of the occupations relate to, like, instead of going up, you have to go diagonal. Like, you get to upgrade diagonally and stuff like that. So
and in the rule book, there is a thing that shows where they're all supposed to sit and what you can upgrade to. But that probably wouldn't be hard to discern in your brain. Yeah, so I sort of wish there was a little more with occupations and how swingy they can be, but I'm glad they didn't add more.
Yeah.
And I'm still looking forward to playing more. And like, because I don't think I've taken an exploration board ever, which it's just not the strategies as I've done.
Yeah. Which is impressive that you got second in a game where everyone else took exploration boards. You still got second.
Yeah.
And I filled everything. I was the only person who had no negative points that game, and I came in third.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I just had so many boats that I was just, what the fuck is it called? Emigrating them, and that's like 18 points,
That's
18 points, 21 points.
Too,
yeah. Especially if you do it early on, because it costs a lot less money to do.
Yeah.
So like you said, a lot of strategies you can do.
Yeah, still continues to be a good game that has gotten way better with the expansion.
A lot of strategies, but you're butting heads with people a lot more, I think.
Which is
good.
Needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, improvements all around. If you are interested in getting the Norwegians, now that you've heard ostensibly both our initial review of Feast for Odin and now our discussion about Norwegians and what it changes, it is widely available for $30-ish.
There is a lot. That's kind of a lot for an expansion. I mean, the game itself was, near 90?
Yeah.
So if this has been sitting on your shelf and not getting played and you like it, definitely pick up Norwegians.
Yeah, it was definitely worth having, but it does bring the price point quite high.
Yeah, but it replaces a lot from that box.
I would really like to see them at some point do a second edition where they just incorporate that in, and so you don't even have to get the extra board and all that. It's just garbage.
Yeah.
That would be for the best.
Yes.
It's fairly new, so that won't be for quite a while.
No.
Yep.
But that wraps up everything for the Norwegians. So next up, we're going to be looking at the expansion for Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia, and that expansion is Ignorance is Bliss. Zach, would you like to start us off with our look back?
Yeah. Last time on Euphoria, which was episode 93B, I guess, on May 4th, 2018. Dystopias suck and ideas are bad. Zach bumped people off left and right. Jeff's roles in this game should be switched with his Blood Bowl roles. Zach drowned a bunch of teddy bears, and Adrian wanted a ladder to heaven, and he raged against the storm. Adrian thought it was good, especially as a short, lighter worker placement. Jeff thinks it's good, possibly great, but randomness hurts, and it needs 4+ players. Zach thinks it had some interesting mechanisms, but the lack of blocking and low real variability hurts it. Biggest problems, the dice and card randomness can really help or hurt you. The shallow theme and trading felt tacked on. Because you can trade. I don't know if you remembered that you could trade that. Yeah, right.
Nope.
I definitely remember mentioning that when I was teaching it, reteaching it to do the expansion, but I think it went right in one ear and out the other for everybody at the table.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ignorance and Bliss makes the following changes. New faction cards, including a factionless recruit. It updated the tunnel track, which varies per player. It added an antique market, and it had, some little rules tweaks. And then I also like 5 times resource markers.
Yeah,
too.
bigger, and then a new market. Well,
that was the antiques market.
And then all of the building tiles are new.
Oh, there's new tiles
Yeah.
too. Sorry.
They replaced all of the building tiles.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Oh, they replaced. New set of them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, that is played like much of this expansion without the old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We
could not tell the difference. You wouldn't have. You'd be like, "Are these from?" I'd been like, "I don't even know what you're talking about, man."
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's true for some of the things like the islands and Feast. You wouldn't necessarily know.
No. It's got new icons. That's about all.
Yeah. When do we want to mention that we got this from Stone?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I forgot we did because it was a little while ago.
I know.
We've kind of lagged on getting this out there. Yes, so we did receive Ignorance is Bliss as a review copy from Stonemaier Games.
Yes.
So we'll get that out there before the initial thoughts because disclosure is important.
Yeah.
Transparency.
Yes. So remember how I said your remembered opinion of a game can shift?
Uh-huh.
I apparently like this game a lot more than I had remembered I did when I was listening to this.
Okay.
Because, initial thoughts of the expansion I was just like, I don't really want to play this game again. But there, it had some interesting things, but the sort of nice worker placement of this really hurt it, in my opinion. But seeing a little bit of the stuff, like it had, entirely new faction cards. It had, including the factionless ones, which seemed pretty interesting. That it added the new tunnel stickers, and it also it also had the rule tweak about the doubles having the cost things, which I remember not liking that much. I was like, okay, well, I guess we can try it. I guess I'll try it. But I was hoping that it would make me like the game better, but I wasn't expecting much at the time.
What about you, Jeff?
I remember it being fine, and I was looking forward to this because it seemed like an expansion that just drills out like the core of a lot of the game and just replaces it with other stuff because of a game that was 5 years ago it came out.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a rebalancing expansion.
Yeah,
I think they called it.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to seeing, what the differences was.
Yeah. I definitely remembered really liking this. I had not played it since we reviewed it, mostly because it's hard to find people to play. And as we talked about in that old review, it definitely is a game that is better at higher player counts. So getting the expansion, knowing that we'd get to play again, I was excited about that. And I was excited for some of the tweaks that I heard it was going to be making. And I wanted to check those out. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Components for the expansion, like Jeff already alluded to, it replaces all of the building tiles. It replaces all of the cards.
The followers,
yeah. It replaces both of those whole decks.
Gives you stickers to put on the board.
So the tunnels have less distance to move if you're playing with less players.
Yeah.
Yep. You get rid of the little, the way they handled limited quantity but unlimited amount of resources. And the old one was to have a little board that had 1, 2, or 3. And so it was this gas is worth 3 gases. This lightning bolt is worth 2 lightning bolts. So they got rid of that. So now they included like big 5
times things.
Chunks.
Yeah. So the big ones are like, this is now a 5-er.
This is a large food. You have individual player boards.
Yep.
Which
there are new player boards.
Just player boards at all.
There are player boards.
Yeah, because the old version had everyone's dice or their little heart and
the morale and
knowledge
trackers were all in one track in the center of the
in the top corner.
Of the board.
Yeah, and now it's individually tracked, so you don't have to point at someone and be like, "Move my thing to this and then that," because you do a lot of actions kind of on your own.
Yes,
in this. That Antique Bazaar sideboard, which gives you like 4 cards to choose from with increasing like resource amount to purchase deeper down the line.
Because originally it was you just draw up the top of the deck.
And it was random card.
Yep. And in a game where you needed specific ones a lot, it was... to
make doubles or whatever.
Exactly. Being able to... Like, you just pay resources for some of the deeper ones. But if you wanted, you could just take... Like, you can still pull off the top of the deck, but you're seeing what you're pulling.
Yes.
Because the farthest most card doesn't cost anything to take.
Yep. And it just shuffles down every time you choose it.
Yep.
The new factionless cards. It's a new mechanic, so I guess we can probably just get that in gameplay.
Yeah, a little bit. But I think that's really it for the new components. There wasn't a lot more.
There is an Automa that they've added. We did not play the Automa.
No.
But the Automa is there, and you can play... I think like 2 players, and with the Automa, it will play like there are 4.
Yeah.
Or you can play, solo with Automa.
Which Megan and I were going to try that out today, but then our 9-mile hike took all day long, which, I mean, I could have said was going to happen, but I know how fast I hike.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to try the Automa. I do want to, but I can't really speak to those. For this one.
Yeah.
So let's move on to gameplay?
Yeah.
Cool. So major gameplay changes are almost certainly the factionless cards. So that's one of the first times when you might experience something that's new in this game. You start off with, it's
the only time you can, in fact.
Yeah. You get dealt 4 of those followers at the start of the game, and you choose 2 to keep. 1 goes face up, 1 goes face down to be done later. If you want to choose a factionless, then it has to be right then, and it has to be the face-up one.
Yep.
Because there's no way to turn them over there. Like, the trigger in each faction of turn over followers of this faction doesn't exist for people who aren't part of a faction.
They also added a new thing for when you're choosing the followers because one of your complaints in the base game was like, if you have a faction that nobody else has, then you're going to have a much harder time getting to boost it up.
Yeah,
in order
their
to get
allegiance track.
Yes.
Or their tunnel, or really anything.
Yeah, and so you do get 2 resources of whatever you want to start off.
If you are in a minority faction.
Yes.
And if you have a majority faction, you
get nothing.
You get nothing.
You have a partner that moves things for the rest of the game.
You guys are going to be kind of working together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That still happens, but at least you get some resources.
Yeah, because then that can help you get, like, you only need, like, 1 water to get another die.
Yep.
Or, another lightning or whatever, so...
Yeah. The factionless cards we didn't particularly mention, but they are generally more powerful in whatever ability they have, but they have that weakness of they are not getting any bonuses out on the board while you have them. And also, you have to be dealt them when you start to get them at all. If you are ever dealt them later, you discard it and draw another one.
Yeah.
You can only ever start with a factionless. And there is a variant to just take them out. If you don't want to use them, you don't have to.
Yeah. The ones we saw were fairly powerful, but I don't know if they're powerful enough to make up for the lack of all of the other bonuses that a factioned supporter gets you throughout the game.
No, we were playing, one of the games we were playing with of this had somebody, to be fair, it was a new person, so
yeah.
I don't think he was taking full advantage of his faction list.
But you could definitely tell that he was hurting a bit because he didn't get any bonuses.
Yeah. And I think
his was when you pull back workers, you get a free resource for everyone after the first one that you pull back.
Yeah.
So you could get an additional
2 or 3
resources every time you pulled back.
But then you are also tempting fate on whether or not you
he
lose
kept
a
getting
guy.
dice fucked too, rolling and having to lose a person or two.
Generally, I noticed the dice fucking of like losing workers and stuff like that in this didn't hurt as much as I remember it.
No, it didn't come up as much, but that was something that like I remember a little bit from that review was that it can be fairly easy to you expect to lose and so you need to churn them.
You got fucked over by the dice all the time during the original review.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you got real punished.
Yeah.
That was excessive amounts of dice fucking.
Yeah.
Normally it's not that bad. Normally like once you get to 3 or 4, you expect fairly regularly to lose one.
I think I had in multiple times gone from down back to 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at one point you rolled triple sixes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing you can do about that.
Nope. The new faction cards are totally new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some of them seem really nice. All of them seem pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't go like compare exactly.
No, but they seemed a lot different
Yeah.
than the previous ones.
Except for a select few.
Yes.
What
Well, are you talking about the ones that are all similar to themselves?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean is that, like, compared to the previous ones, like, they were, like, changing dice or, like, how you got resources was a lot, like, seemed a lot different than those. So they just had more active powers, it felt like.
And this one, like, every time I like spent a worker, I could play a lightning and just like pull dudes off for free,
which is kind of nuts.
Yeah. And then there was the set of cards that all had like a certain artifact was wild for them.
Yeah, yes. and so that artifact was wild for them, and anytime they used that artifact, they got a resource.
Yes.
So which is another thing, especially with that bigger market, really helps kind of reduce that dependency on a random draw. Because now, in theory, whatever one you're going for, you can get that or your wild one. And because you can see the market, you can see where they are and really kind of plan to like, all right, I can hopefully snatch that here where it's affordable and use it for things.
And if anyone doesn't remember, using artifacts are the majority way to get stars on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you place them in those spaces next to every build site.
Mm-hmm. They also activate your little like moral quandary.
Yeah.
That you flip over.
That you do once.
Maybe a star or maybe another follower.
Yeah.
People still seem to do that one 50-50. The expansion didn't really change anything about the moral quandaries.
No.
Having the new faction cards didn't make people be like, oh, I'm definitely doing factions. Some people were still like, oh, no, I'll definitely take that free star here and now. Thank you very much.
Faction cards were pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did get to play a 3-player game. And the star pattern helps, or the moving the tunnels helps, but it's still like you want more players in the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was hoping that I didn't think that tweak alone would change it, which is why I really wanted to try with Automa so I could see if having Automa simulate more players would be good, but I didn't get a chance to do that. But it is nice not having to go the whole fucking tunnel.
Yeah, because that cuts, 3 spaces off?
I haven't looked at the Automa rules either. I don't know if you play 2 players with 2 Automa, or the Automa to make it seem like a 4-player game. I don't know if you still start all the way at the 2.
Yeah.
I got to assume you do, which would probably make 2 work a lot better.
Yeah. Still a lot of the same, like bumping and building, and that didn't really change.
Yeah.
The core of it is still the same game.
Yeah.
Oh, well, except I'm sure we criticized this in the original review. It's like whoever got more doubles is going to win.
Yeah.
Because there was just like, I got doubles, I get more actions.
Mm-hmm. Doubles are still really powerful.
Now it costs you 1 morale for every die you play on the same turn past the first one.
Yeah.
Which is hand size.
Yeah, it's just hand size. But if you... Knowing that, it was very easy to have enough morale to let you do that.
It just gave you a reason to care about morale.
Yes.
Because like morale, normally in the base game, the only thing it really did was hand size.
Oh, one of the games that I won, my morale never left 1.
Yeah.
I just had 1 the entire time.
Yeah.
I just was like, I just care about buildings, and that's how I was able to win on that one.
And it only really goes down when you pull workers and don't feed them.
Yeah.
Or a building has a consequence that you can't. Yeah.
Which, and so I just feel like it did less, that rule tweak did less to reduce the power of doubles or triples
than we thought it would.
And did more to just give you a reason to care about having some morale so that you could take advantage of your doubles and triples.
Yeah. And in the big 5-player game that we played, also the people that had those
The artifact ones?
Those followers that let them have those wild cards were probably not going to care about as much about hand size.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter because they're going to be blowing their artifacts all the time anyways. Shocker, they were in first and second place.
Yes, they were.
Yes, in that one game. I don't know. I don't feel like the core gameplay changed as much with this one as it did with Feast.
I'm sure if we had played more Euphoria at all, we could probably know more of what the follower cards were versus these. They seemed different and they seemed better. And then the buildings seemed different. I remember all the penalties really sucking. These also really sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they were just a different level of suck, I guess. There might be some big change in there that we just didn't really see because we didn't have a ton.
Well, I mean, there's a ton of those building tiles. There's a ton of follower cards. Just like, when we did the initial Euphoria, we didn't get anywhere near through all the buildings or all of the follower cards.
So what's 8 buildings that you play with? 6 buildings?
6 go on the board.
Yeah, out of 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be quite a few plays before you even see all of them or get a right combination that might fuck this versus fuck that.
Yeah, and really learning how to manipulate things with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Core gameplay stayed about the same, but the changes were appreciated.
Yeah. So let's do some final thoughts then. Zach, once again, you seem to have been the person who was the most down on him in the initial review, even if your initial review was much more positive than I think your long-term feelings were.
Yeah.
What did the expansion do or not do for you?
I mean, I think it had some positive changes. The followers seemed more interesting, and you do have a decision on if you want to do that, the factionless follower or not. I mean, in theory, I like that the tunnels can be, it makes it easier if you're playing with less players. I didn't play it with less players, so I didn't ever take advantage of that. The antique market is good just because you're not just getting, card fucked by drawing from the top deck until you find one. I think it's good that it lets you get other ones or have a chance of getting the one you need, even if you have to pay for it. But overall, the theme is still super shallow for me, and so I didn't really care about what I was doing other than it's just I'm turning these resources into other resources to turn them into points. Some games I can get past that. This one, I wasn't able to. But I think if you have the base game for this, I think if you like it, this one will make you like it slightly more, but not enough to make you go from not liking it to liking it. Whereas I thought Feast for Odin the Norwegians could make that jump.
Yeah.
This one did not for me.
Okay. Jeff, what about for you?
I guess I like all they're all different follower cards and building cards, but I don't appreciate the differences enough to really criticize whether those were good changes or not.
It's more like, hey, here's a new pack that was already in the game that you didn't realize.
I can only assume that they're better cards than what they were before because they did call this a rebalancing.
Yeah.
So I assume there could have been some real rough ones in that old one, and this changes that, which is always good.
Yeah.
I like the little player boards that you now have off to the side, so you don't have to keep track on the board or anything anymore. Keeps everything in a nice, neat spot. The Antiques Bazaar is great. The shorter tunnels for different player counts is good. Gameplay is about the same. I think I enjoyed my play in this more than the original, but it's still fine. Still good. It plays a lot quicker than you think it would.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is
nice.
A lot to say about a game that plays, 5-6 players.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So real quick before I do mine, I pulled up the BG page, and so they have different aspects of it apply to different things. So more stuff. So Ignorance is Bliss is a more stuff expansion relating to the recruit cards and the market tiles. So that's just they're adding more or alternative. They even say in there.
Yeah.
The player count expansion, you're doing the Automa for 1 and changing the 2-player game because they heard people say the 2-player game is not very good. You need the lower players. The improve the rules, they say only really applied to things like the Antiques Bazaar and some of the component changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, Jeff, what you were saying with I don't think the recruit cards were meant to be a rebalancing. And that's why they even still say you can use the old stuff. You just choose which set you want to use. They don't mix. You just use one set or the other. So those were more of a for people who maybe have got this and played the shit out of it and did want just something different.
Like how Feast for Odin had the deck B and C.
Yeah. Or they're never going to admit that maybe it was unbalanced and this is just a replacement.
Well, they admitted that other things were imbalanced and needed improvement, so I don't know why they would hide this portion of it. I don't know. It didn't really fundamentally change the game. Luckily, this was a game that I already liked, so I still like it.
You continue to like it.
Yeah, I continue to like it.
Do you like it a little bit more now?
I do.
Okay.
If nothing else, the Antiques Bazaar fixed one of my major complaints with the base game.
That was my biggest complaint as well.
Yeah. I think that even though, as we said, the new rules for using doubles and triples, I never saw it keep anybody from using doubles or triples, but it was just something else you had to think about. It wasn't just like, oh, I just get 3 free actions now. You know, there were times where if I had rolled doubles or triples, I didn't have any morale to drop, so I wouldn't have been able to use them all in the same go. So I think that it's not as big of a change as it sounded like it was, but it is still a welcome change that kind of keeps that from becoming a runaway, like, I'm getting all of the actions because I keep rolling all of the doubles.
Yeah.
I'm curious to try the Automa. Like I said, I would like to see if it can take a 2-player game and actually make it feel full enough to be worthwhile. I do appreciate it's a nice reminder that this is a worker placement. If I'm in the mood for like a fun kind of worker placement, I can take this to game night and get it played 5 players at game night in a reasonable amount of time and still have time to go do 2 or 3 other games that night, you know.
Yeah, the initial relearn was a bit
but
long, but after we remembered how to play.
and that's just part of the problem with a lot, you know, having a big collection and not playing a game for over a year.
Yeah.
You come back to it and you're like, fuck, I don't really remember how to play. I remember a little bit about some things, but there's a lot I didn't. You know, I think that now, after playing it a couple of times, as long as I keep playing it, I think I could teach it a lot better and a lot smoother.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think it's a good expansion, especially because as we move over here into cost and availability, if you want to pick this up, it is less than $20 at most places that you can get it.
And I think it is very newly released.
Yes. I didn't see for sure where it specifically released, the specific release date when I was looking at stuff on BGG, but yes, it is.
There may have been a Stonemeyer email I saw in passing that it only released in the past couple weeks of retail.
Yeah, so it's still pretty much brand new. But if you have Euphoria, kind of exactly what Zach said, if you have Euphoria, if you like Euphoria, I think this is a no-brainer to pick up because it is, you know, sub $20 most places you can get it. You know, you might spend a little bit over 20 with tax or shipping or something, but it's a very affordable expansion. And if you already like the game, I think you're going to like the changes that it makes.
Which game was harder to relearn? Because we had played them since episode 24, hadn't played, and then since episode 92 or whatever. 93.
I think Feast for Odin, just because of all, like, a bunch of little things we had trouble remembering.
And it was also mostly replaced.
Yeah, also that, yeah.
Yeah, they were about the same for me. Like, the initial going through the rules for both of them was kind of painful. Like, shit, what do you do? Like, why do all these different things? Feast for Odin, I think it's much more intuitive, whereas Euphoria, I think, does some things that worker placements don't always do, and there's a lot more going on, like that process of moving, like what resources you're getting and using where isn't quite as intuitive on that board.
Yeah.
So I think Euphoria might have been a little bit harder.
I don't know. For me, I think it's just that Feast for Odin had more to learn, but it's
that's also very true.
Yeah. So learning what the new spots were and all that stuff versus Euphoria, like we said, there weren't many. It played basically the same. There weren't really any major changes, so it was just more of a remember of how to play this versus a learning to play the Norwegians.
Indeed.
But affordable.
Yes, very affordable. Yeah. So no listener feedback for this one. The closest was Boyd chiming in over on Twitter that he'd love to give some feedback, but he hasn't played either game or hasn't played either expansion. He was very vague.
The feedback was that he had no feedback.
Yes.
So,
which I think might be the case. I mean, especially like Euphoria just came out, the expansion for it,
yeah.
so people might not have gotten a chance to play it. Norwegians came out a little bit further back
last year.
but doesn't have, I think, it didn't have quite the splash. Like, I don't know how many people have actually gotten that expansion, or I haven't seen people busting out Feast for Odin a whole lot over the last few years. So,
well, you should.
You should. It's good. I think they're both good. I think they should both get played a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that pretty much wraps up the episode. If you want to get a hold of us and give us any thoughts or opinions about this review, you can always send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, both of those /MileHighGameGuys. And our website, milehighgameguys.com, has links to our BGG guild number 2731, links to our Slack channel, where you can come join in all of the slacking off that we do over there, and links to our Patreon, patreon.com/milehighgameguys, if you would like to financially support the show. Just as one final reminder, this is our last regular episode for a few weeks, as Zach and Jeff go off to Gen Con, so we're taking a week off for them to go to Gen Con.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll still hear us next week at
like
some point.
5 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be putting out audio from Gen Con.
Yes.
Yes.
And post Gen Con, there
Yeah.
will be some audio from you guys.
Yes.
And we will still be finding ways to do content, so it's not going to be a complete lack of episodes, but they're not going to be the normal, formal Wednesday, Friday episodes as much.
Yeah.
While we do the studio move. And then when we come back, we'll come back with streaming.
Oh, God.
I know.
You have to look at our white faces.
That's why I've been growing the beard out. I just want to be as hidden as possible.
I mean, just dress like a poker player. Get the hoodie, the glasses.
Just sit there silently.
Yeah.
Just have a little tag that says who we are, but nobody will actually know because they can't see our faces.
No one
Yeah.
says anything, and we just play board games.
Yeah.
Just silent board game playing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Except, whose turn is it?
But then they'll know who Adrian is.
Yeah.
Damn it. But yeah, so we'll have all that stuff coming, and very exciting times. We're very excited for all of these big changes.
Indeed.
So,
We're a business now.
yeah, we're officially an LLC. We have an official business bank account.
Which everyone's finding out at the end of this review episode.
Yep.
Really randomly. Yeah. Forgot to mention it on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
You'd think it was bigger news. But anyway, that's everything. So without further ado, as always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Reven Jeff.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media,
where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
At punchboardmedia.com.